I'm 78 years old, and 6 weeks ago, I sold the house I built with my own 2 hands back in 1974. I didn't want to sell it. Lord knows I didn't. I did it because, how do I say this? Because my own children were planning to take it from me. They were thinking I was just too old, too frail to realize what was actually happening right under my nose. Let me tell you what happened. You see, my name is Harry, and I was married to Margaret Brennan for 50 wonderful years. 50 years. She taught school, my Margaret. She was patient, she was funny, and she could make anyone feel special. We built our house together. The summer we turned 27. We were just kids. We didn't hire anyone, no contractors, no help. We did it ourselves. I was a carpenter by trade, so with these calloused hands, I cut every single board. I laid every pipe. And Margaret, she painted every room. It took us 14 months. 14 long months. And when we finally finished, she stood right there in the kitchen and she looked at me and said, "Harry, this is the only house I'll ever need." And she was right. She lived right there until the day she died. Margaret passed in 2020. It was cancer. She was only 73. And I won't talk about those last few months because honestly, I still can't. Not all the way. It's too heavy. But what I will tell you is that after she was gone, I stayed in that house. Our house. I kept her kitchen. I tended her garden. I slept in the bedroom where we spent 50 years side by side. People used to ask me if I was lonely. I always said no, and I meant it. Because you have to understand, loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. I had my routine. I had my workshop out in the garage. I had Margaret's garden, which I kept exactly, and I mean exactly, the way she left it. I had my neighbor, Bill. He came over on Saturdays for coffee. I cooked my own meals. I drove my own truck. I paid my own bills. I even mowed my own lawn until last summer when this bad knee of mine started bothering me. And even then, I didn't ask for help. I just bought a smaller mower. I was not helpless. I was not confused. I was 78 years old and I was living my life entirely on my own terms. But my son David, he didn't see it that way. David is 54 now. He lives down in Charlotte. Visits maybe, 4 times a year? Stays for 2 days. And he looks around the house like he's inspecting a property, Opens the fridge, checks the smoke detectors, asks me if I've been to the doctor. Then he flies back home and immediately calls Susan. Susan is my daughter. She's 50, lives up in Maryland. She calls me every Sunday. 15 minutes, exactly 15 minutes, like clockwork. She asks how I'm feeling, tells me about the kids, and then she always says, "Dad, you should really think about moving closer to one of us." And I always say the exact same thing. I'm fine, because I am fine. But in January of this year, something happened that just changed everything. David came for a visit, completely unannounced, said he was in the area. He wasn't in the area. Charlotte is 6 hours from here. But I didn't say that to him. I just made coffee. We sat at that kitchen table. He talked about the yard, about the front steps, about the bathroom. He said the word safety 11 times. Yes, I counted. Then he left, said he had a meeting. After he drove away, I went over to clear the table, and that's when I saw it, a brochure, folded in half, tucked right under his coffee mug. Sunrise Senior Living, where comfort meets care. That's what it said. I picked it up. My hands were steady. I turned it over. On the back, in David's handwriting, my own son's handwriting, were 6 words. This one looks good. Talk to Susan. And I just stood there in my own kitchen, in the house I built with my own hands. 52 years of life inside those walls. Margaret's curtains were still on the windows. Her recipe box was still sitting right there on the counter. My tools were still out in the garage, and my son had come to measure me for a box. I didn't yell. I didn't call him. I sat down in Margaret's chair and I read that brochure from front to back. And you know what I noticed? The monthly cost. $9,500 a month. Let me say that again so you hear it. $9,500 for a room the size of my damn bathroom, with a bed I didn't choose, food I didn't cook, and people I've never even met telling me when to eat and when to sleep. They call it comfort. I call it a warehouse with wallpaper. And here's what that glossy little brochure didn't say. It didn't say that 94% of people over 65 want to stay in their own homes. 94%. It didn't say that aging in place, with a few simple changes like grab bars, a medical alert, and someone checking in maybe twice a week, costs 1/3 of what a nursing home costs. It didn't say that 87% of nursing homes in this country don't even have enough staff to meet basic needs. It didn't say any of that, because nursing homes have marketing budgets, and your home does not. Now, I want to be very clear about something here. My children are not evil. David is not some villain. Susan is not heartless. They are just busy, worried, guilty people who live far away and simply don't know what else to do. And I understand that. I really do. But understanding why someone does something does not mean you have to accept it. So I did something they didn't expect. I called a lawyer. Not an estate lawyer, mind you, an elder law attorney. A woman named Judith. She was 61 years old, and she spoke to me like I was a grown man and not a problem to be solved. And Judith told me 3 things that I want every single person over 60 to hear right now. Are you listening? Number 1, your children cannot legally force you into a nursing home. If you are of sound mind, and believe me, I am, no one can make that decision for you. Not your son, not your daughter, not some doctor who spent exactly 9 minutes with you. Number 2, a power of attorney does not give your kids the right to sell your house or move you against your will. That document is for when you can't make decisions. It is not for when your kids simply disagree with your decisions. And number 3, if someone sells your property or moves your money without your informed consent, that is not caregiving. That is elder financial exploitation, and it is a crime. I sat in Judith's office that day and I cried. Not because I was sad, no, because I was angry. Because for the first time, someone finally told me out loud what I already knew deep in my aging bones. My house is mine, my life is mine, and nobody, not even the people I love most in this world, gets to decide when that stops being true. So, here's what I did. I sold the house. on my terms, at my price, to a young couple from town who promised me they would keep Margaret's garden just the way it was. And I kept every single penny. David called me screaming. He said, "Dad, what did you do?" I said, "I did exactly what you were planning to do, except I did it for me, not for you." He didn't talk to me for 3 weeks after that. Susan cried. She told me I was being selfish. I said, "Susan, I love you, but you're going to put me in a building where I'd die, paying $9,000 a month just to be somebody's room number. And you didn't even ask me." She didn't have an answer, because there isn't one. I used the money from the house to rent a small cottage about 40 minutes from my old neighborhood. 2 bedrooms, a nice little workshop in the back for my tools, a porch where I sit and drink my coffee every single morning. I hired a woman named Clara who comes by 3 times a week. She checks on me, helps with the groceries, costs me $1,100 a month, not $9,500. I installed those grab bars. I wear a medical alert pendant around my neck. I have a neighbor who has a spare key. And I am living my life exactly the way Margaret and I always planned. Independently, deliberately, on my own terms. Am I angry at my kids? Some days. Am I scared? Sometimes. Am I lonely? No more than I was before. But the difference is this. Every morning when I wake up in this cottage, I know that I chose it. Nobody placed me here. Nobody decided for me. And nobody left a damn brochure on my kitchen table hoping I wouldn't notice. Now, I want to say something directly to you. If you are 70, 75, 80 years old and your children are starting to have conversations about you that don't actually include you, pay attention. If they're visiting more often but asking fewer questions. If they're looking at your house like a liability instead of a home. If they're saying the word safety more than they're saying, "What do you want?" You need to understand something right now. You have rights, legal rights, real ones, and nobody is going to explain them to you unless you ask. Call an elder law attorney. Not next month, this week. Find out what a power of attorney actually means. Find out what aging in place looks like. Find out what your options are before someone else decides for you. Because here is what I have learned at 78 years old. Love and control look very, very similar from the outside. Your children will tell you they're protecting you, and they genuinely believe it. But protection that removes your voice is not protection. It's management, and you are not a thing to be managed. You are a person who built a life. I built mine with a hammer and a woman who believed in me, and I will not spend my last years in a building I didn't choose, eating food I didn't cook, waiting for someone who doesn't even know my name to check a box on a clipboard. If this found you today, share it. Not for me, for every parent sitting in a house they built, wondering if their kids are planning something behind their back. And for every son and daughter watching this, listen to me. I'm not your enemy. I'm the wake-up call you needed. Call your mother. Call your father. And this time, don't tell them what you've decided. Ask them what they want. My name is Harry. I am 78 years old. I sold the house I built with my own 2 hands, and I am still standing.